The highly anticipated showdown between Gervonta Davis and Lamont Roach ended in a draw, but the controversy surrounding the decision hasn't died down. Among those weighing in is none other than boxing legend Floyd Mayweather, who couldn't stay silent on the matter. And he's not alone. Many other boxing greats have shared their thoughts on the outcome. So, let's break it all down. After 12 grueling rounds between Tank Davis and Lamont Roach, the judges found themselves at an impasse, ultimately declaring the fight a majority draw. While the contest was highly competitive, one particular moment ignited controversy and left boxing fans debating the legitimacy of the decision. The flashpoint occurred in the 9th round when Roach landed a thunderous right hand, prompting Davis to take a knee.
Oh, and that right, but Davis took off some of the steam of the punch, but still, Roach leaned with right. He took a knee. He took a knee.
However, the referee did not rule it a knockdown, a decision that quickly became the center of heated discussions. Many in the boxing community argue that this should have been an indisputable knockdown for Roach, a crucial moment that could have swayed the judges in his favor. Had the referee made a different call, Lamont Roach might have walked away with the biggest victory of his career. The controversy only gained more traction when Floyd Mayweather, a key figure in Tank's career, weighed in on the issue. But before diving into his reaction, let's take a look at what other boxing greats had to say about the fight and the now infamous bending knee moment. One of the most outspoken critics of the referee's decision was renowned boxing coach Robert Garcia. According to Garcia, the referee should have either stopped the contest and awarded Roach the win or disqualified Davis for taking a knee. Garcia insists that no fighter should be allowed to take an unsanctioned break during a match.
Talk about everything that's been going on in the world of boxing, but let's first talk about the thing that everybody's talking about in the world of boxing, and that's, was it a knockdown? Was the whole Lamont Roach, Tank Davis, Tank taking a knee, going to the corner after taking the knee and getting wiped out, was it a knockdown? And should it have been a disqualification?
Look, it could have easily been a disqualification too, or a referee stops contest, because look, there's no way a fighter could take a timeout and go get his, during the round. There's no way a fighter could say, okay, timeout.
He further elaborated that Davis took advantage of the moment to return to his corner and have his face wiped, something Garcia claims is unheard of in professional boxing. The veteran coach didn't stop there. He pointed out that in past fights, similar actions resulted in immediate stoppages, with the affected fighter losing via TKO. Garcia firmly believes that the same should have happened to Davis.
Because he took a knee like a timeout kind of thing and walked to his corner to wipe his face. That's fucking unheard of and never seen before. There's no way that's legal in boxing. It shouldn't have. When a fighter, we just seen it recently with Espinosa and Rubesis. Rubesis got hit with the right hand, and then he walks back and walks away, and the red right away wiped it off.
That happened with Lara versus Angulo.
Exactly. It's over. It's over.
Furthermore, he criticized the referee for failing to issue a knockdown count, emphasizing that had the proper call been made, Lamont Roach would have left the ring as the new world champion.
Unheard of. And then also the ref, when that shit should have right away been a standing 8 count. It should have been not a standing 8 count because he took a knee, so it should have been a knockdown, an 8 count. But it didn't happen. Now we have a draw, and Lamont Roach walks away with a draw. He should have walked away being a world champion, honestly. He should have walked away being a world.
Legendary sportscaster Jim Lampley also weighed in, arguing that Davis touching the canvas should have been recognized as a knockdown. According to Lampley, this oversight could cast a long shadow over the legitimacy of the fight's results for years to come.
An upset draw is always a mixed bag for fans, for people in the sport, etc., etc. I thought it was, in essence, the right decision. The only question about whether the upset draw is justified is whether Steve Willis erred in not deducting a point in a late round when Tank Davis appeared to touch the canvas with his hand. And that is going to stay in the woodwork and haunt the fight in the breach a little bit.
He went on to suggest that this fight marks a significant setback for Tank Davis, a fighter known for his devastating knockouts. Instead of the expected dominant performance, Davis found himself barely hanging on to secure a majority draw. Lampley also pointed out that many expected Davis to steamroll through Roach, given that Roach was moving up in weight. Yet the fight proved to be anything but one-sided. Davis struggled more than anyone anticipated, leaving questions about his current form and ability to dominate future opponents.
At the end of the day, it's a setback in Tank's career and for his reputation. I think most observers expected him to knock Roach out, particularly because Roach was moving up from 130 to 135. Sometimes when a fighter moves up in weight, he gets stronger, and it looked as though maybe Roach did get stronger and had a greater ability to resist Tank's power than other opponents have had, because Tank did tag him with a lot of clean shots, and he wound up throwing more punches than he likes to throw to get that done. He tagged him both on the chin and to the belly, etc., and couldn't seem to hurt Roach. And that was another surprise in the overall picture.
But Lampley saved his most shocking statement for last. After witnessing Davis's performance that night, he declared that if Tank were to face Shakur Stevenson, Stevenson would emerge victorious. This bold prediction set the boxing world ablaze with speculation.
I'll stick with that. Usually a great defender beats a great attacker. Another person interviewed me a few moments ago and said, who would you pick right now between Shakur and Tank? And I said, off of what I saw tonight, I would lean toward Shakur.
Another respected boxing coach, Bozy Ennis, also weighed in on the controversy surrounding the fight. According to Ennis, Lamont came into the bout well prepared and in top condition, making it a closely contested fight. However, despite the razor-thin margins, Ennis firmly believes that Lamont did enough to secure the victory on the judges' scorecards. He acknowledged that opinions on the decision might be divided, but from his perspective, Lamont edged out Gervonta in what he saw as a fair contest.
Lamont was ready, man. He was ready, he was in shape. He took Tank punches, you know what I mean? And they was going back and forth, you know what I mean? And I thought it was a real close fight, but I thought Lamont edged it.
And of course, the biggest talking point of the night couldn't be ignored. The moment Gervonta Davis unexpectedly took a knee. The reporter asked Ennis for his thoughts on this shocking decision, and just like his colleague Robert Garcia, Ennis made it clear that this was an unprecedented moment in boxing. He emphasized that in his 40 years in the sport, he had never witnessed anything like it, a fighter voluntarily taking a knee to essentially buy time. Ennis was baffled by the move, calling it something that simply does not happen at the elite level.
You've been in boxing for over 40 years.
Over 40.
Yeah. Have you ever seen anything like that? A guy takes a knee?
No. Now, that's something I didn't expect him to do, you know what I mean? You know, he took the knee, you know what I mean, and then ran to the corner and got his eyes wiped out. They never allowed that. They would have started counting. You know what I mean? I see that he started counting, then he stopped. You know what I mean? But you got to understand, you know, Tank got a lot of power. That show you right there, he got power.
Beyond that, another controversy erupted regarding Gervonta's corner assisting him mid-fight. Some fans and analysts argued that his team wiping his face during the round should have resulted in an automatic disqualification. When asked about this, Ennis did not dismiss the idea entirely, acknowledging that under strict rule enforcement, such an act could have led to a DQ.
Somebody said him getting his face wiped off, him sticking his head through the ropes and getting his face wiped off was supposed to be a disqualification. Is that a rule?
That's what they say. That's what I heard. You know what I mean?
Meanwhile, legendary boxing trainer and commentator Teddy Atlas had his own strong take on the situation. According to Atlas, the real issue at hand is the inconsistency of refereeing in boxing. He believes that the sport desperately needs officials who are fearless in making the right calls in the heat of the moment, even when high-profile fighters are involved.
We need more educated refs, whatever you want, trained refs. I'm not going to say honest because I don't know if honesty had something to do with it. I don't know. But definitely we need better refs that assure themselves, knowing how to make a decision, know they're making the right decision, and emboldened to make that decision. I think that I don't know.
Atlas specifically criticized the referee for allowing Gervonta Davis to take a knee without consequences, arguing that had the roles been reversed, Lamont Roach would not have been given the same leniency.
Roach get away with that. He let Tank Davis get away with. Why? Tank Davis is a star. I think he said.
From his perspective, Davis's star power and pay-per-view draw played a crucial role in why he was forgiven for taking a knee. Atlas was adamant that no other fighter would have been granted the same privilege, calling it a clear example of how money and influence can impact officiating.
When a referee allows him to take a knee, which is not a rule in boxing, and get away with it, and not make it a 10-8 round. That should have been a 10-8 round. He got hit with a jab just before that. I'm not trying to go after Tank Davis. People already know. Some people say I defend him too much, that I'm saying how great he is. And he is. He's a tremendous, complete fighter. Puncher, fighter, inside, outside. He's patient. He's responsible defensively. He's got fast hands. He puts punches together. He goes to the body and head. He's all of that. He can counterpunch. He can set traps. All of that. But he was wrong here. He got away with it. But the sport let him get away with it. There's nothing wrong with the fighters. There
is absolutely no doubt in Atlas's mind that Davis's decision to take a knee should have been ruled a knockdown. He stated it plainly. If a fighter touches the canvas for any reason other than a foul, it's a knockdown, no exceptions. According to Atlas, the rules should be followed without bias. Yet, in this case, they were seemingly bent in Davis's favor.
2 seconds later, he takes a knee. Guess what? I'm sorry. That constitutes a knockdown. Your knee goes down after a punch somewhere around there. That's a knockdown. There is, again, we're not in football. There are no fair cats.
Despite the chaos, Atlas also took a moment to highlight Lamont Roach's sportsmanship. He pointed out that Roach had every right to press forward and capitalize when Davis turned his back, yet he chose not to. By the official rules, a fighter must protect themselves at all times, and Davis essentially made himself vulnerable by disengaging. If Roach had decided to be ruthless, he could have taken full advantage of the moment, but he showed restraint, something Atlas credited as a display of fair play.
Say, you know what, you should have went after him, because what's that old saying? Defend yourself at all times. Right? So he would have been in his right to go after him. I've seen fighters go after guys and hit them when they're turning, walking away. The referee didn't stop it. Unless the referee interjects and that bell hasn't rung, you have the right to hit that guy. That's fighting. That's it. So Roach had the right.
Floyd Mayweather's uncle and former IBO super featherweight champion Jeff Mayweather reinforced the prevailing sentiment surrounding this fight. While he acknowledged that it was a competitive and closely contested bout, Jeff ultimately sided with Lamont Roach, believing that he did just enough to secure the win on the judges' scorecards. In his eyes, Roach displayed superior skills and edged out Gervonta Tank Davis in the key moments of the fight.
I think that it was a good fight on both sides, and I do think that Roach actually won the fight. I thought he outworked Tank.
Breaking down the action, Jeff pointed out that Tank followed his usual game plan, waiting patiently for the right opportunity before unleashing his signature power punches. However, what made this fight different was Roach's resilience. Instead of wilting under the pressure, Roach stood his ground, engaged in toe-to-toe exchanges, and even gained the upper hand in several of those wild trade-offs. According to Jeff, it wasn't just about survival. Roach was actively winning the exchanges, proving that he could go shot for shot with one of the sport's most feared punchers.
I thought that he threw more punches than Tank. It seemed like Tank was fighting like he always do. It just seemed like he was just waiting for him to figure out whoever was in front of him like he always do and then go to work. But this time when he went to work, the guy went to work back. So, I mean, he had somebody that was firing back at him. It's the same way.
Despite being an admitted fan of Gervonta Davis, Jeff didn't hold back when assessing the fight. He made it clear that, in his opinion, there was no realistic scenario in which Tank deserved to have his hand raised. From Jeff's perspective, Roach outclassed Davis in every department, whether it was boxing IQ, work rate, or overall effectiveness. He emphasized that while Davis is known for his explosive power, it simply wasn't enough to secure him the victory on this particular night.
Pretty much all the way through the fight. I mean, there was a few rounds where he didn't do that well, but I mean, I thought he won the fight clearly. I mean, I didn't see Gervonta really, the Gervonta that I know. I mean, I'm a big Gervonta fan, but I didn't see none of the Gervonta that I'm used to seeing.
And of course, when it comes to high-profile boxing discussions, Floyd Mayweather himself was inevitably asked for his opinion on the fight. However, unlike his uncle, Floyd chose to stay silent on the matter. Instead of offering an analysis or picking a side, he simply responded with a smirk and walked away, leaving fans and reporters to speculate on what he truly thought about the controversial decision.
Hey Floyd, what was your reaction to the fight, man?
The controversy surrounding the Gervonta Davis versus Lamont Roach fight boils down to one key issue: whether Davis taking a knee should have been ruled a knockdown. But what about you, fight fans? Did you believe Tank Davis should have been penalized for taking a knee? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this.